The smartphone now offers people easy and convenient pleasure and entertainment. So for most people, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram are all offering stimulus that they're excited to look at. As a result, people are looking down at their phones for longer and longer during the day. And that accumulation of that forward head posture, as well as that flexed spine, degenerates the spine, and it forces the spine into molding into a new position that's suboptimal. This video is for educational purposes only. If you do have neck pain, I highly recommend seeing a medical professional. Now, if you have chronic pain, I'd highly recommend getting scans done. A spine has a natural 3 curves: a lumbar lordosis, a thoracic where the ribs are, kyphosis, and cervical, the neck, lordosis. Now, if your head is always flexed, that cervical lordosis can be reversed. With the reversal of a cervical lordosis into a cervical kyphosis, the discs have a lot more pressure, and over time you'll get progressive deformity. This can lead to discogenic pain, to disc bulges, and eventually disc degeneration like I have. Now, this means that once you load up the neck, it's no longer structurally sound. So even if you have strong muscles around the area, it's not ideal. So I've managed to get away with the last 20 years of stabilizing my neck with the muscles around it. And even though I was doing that, I didn't have the optimal alignment in my spine. So it was still compressing and wearing out one area, which became more of a hinge point. And over time, that further degenerated. So now what I've got to do is correct the curvature. So even if I want to have spinal fusion or a disc replacement, I need to look at improving those curves so that way I get a better result at the end of it. I've had all different scans done on my neck, and each of them has given me different information as to how to manage it better and understand what I need to do in order to correct it. Now, the last scan I got was an EOS, a standing X-ray, to look at the different curves in my neck, and it showed under loading in a standing position the shape throughout my whole spine. And I found this very informative as to why I have pain and the changes that have occurred over time from having a more natural cervical lordosis. Even though I've had a very straight spine most of my life, I still had natural curves, but because of the injury in my C6, C7 disc, then I've created a flexion point, and then I've worn out that disc, and then I've reversed the curve in my neck because that's worn out and collapsed, and I'm flexing in the neck above rather than distributing that load more evenly through the thoracic and cervical spine. It's just been hinging at one spot. So that helped me understand that more, to see that scan. And it also was the first scan that really showed my whole spine. I was always just looking at my cervical spine and from T1 and above, but as soon as I saw slightly below that, I understood more about what was going on and what I can do to correct it, and how I need to manage myself and what I need to do day to day. So what I'm doing is an experiment. I've looked at different research on doing different traction methods to reverse a kyphosis in the cervical spine into a lordosis. So the study that I'm referencing at the bottom, you can have a look at, and that I'm going by, was a 9-week study where they used a 3-point traction method. So in that, you have traction coming from the front and then into extension and lengthening. The 3 points is because they've got the jaw in the back of the neck. Now I'm doing not the jaw because I don't believe in compressing the jaw, but I've got the pressure in my hand, so that way the band pulls into my cheekbones and the band's tractioning my neck. So I'm doing this twice a day for 3 minutes as my starting point, and then whenever it feels good, I go up by 30 seconds. My goal over the 6 weeks before I go and see the surgeon again is to get up to 20 minutes comfortable. Now I'm also doing twice a day, doing cervical mobs, so using the band to pin C6, C7 and extend at that point. I'm doing this both in a prone position, the 4-point position, and I'm doing it supine holding the ring. So I'm doing it both ways, and that's because I want to stretch and strengthen both sides of my neck with that mobilization. So I'm also sleeping with a towel roll every day. I usually keep it there for as long as I can. If I fall asleep, as soon as I wake up, I just use my pillow and lie on the side. I alternate from side to side. If I wake up a bit early before my alarm in the morning, I'll do another stretch of using that. And then if I'm doing anything on the phone where I'm scrolling through, reading stuff on my back or just listening to things, then I'll do that through the day as well. I've also got a massaging peanut ball that I use in the back of my neck that oscillates there into that shape. Then I also do the towel extensions throughout the day. If I'm working on a computer, I keep the towel there so that way I remember to do it. I also have a neck mobilizer that I use to release the muscles in the back of my neck, and it works really well to pin that area and extend over it. So it's a lot more aggressive than just a towel, but it's slightly different in the sense that the towel spreads it and it provides a bit of resistance through the curvature, which works quite well. So these are all methods that I'm doing daily. My strength training I've changed so that I do 3 days a week, pull push legs, but I've limited the overhead pressing and the high pulling. Pull-ups are fine because they're pulling down, they're not bearing down into the neck. And then dips are fine because I'm pushing it away. Horizontal pulling and pushing is fine. I just find that I can't go too heavy when I'm pressing overhead because then it's going to put too much force into the neck. And while I'm trying to change the curve, I don't want to put too much load in there anyway because I want to train a new shape. So I've got to start from a base level and go through stability and then go through postural endurance, go through hypertrophy, max loading, and then speed work before I've really accepted that new shape. So that's a whole process in itself. But at the moment, I'm just doing slow, smooth movements, controlled, even for all my lifting, so that way I can really be conscious of the shape that I'm using in my neck. The research study that I looked at was interesting in the sense that people maintain the curve with a follow-up, which was much later. So they were able to make the changes and it wasn't transient. It means that it was something that held and they maintained that new curvature, which I think is awesome. And given the current state of everybody looking down at their phones all day, this is going to be an epidemic because of the position in which people are looking at those phones for longer and longer periods. And usually people aren't aware of how much damage they're doing until they do something strenuous and they go to load their neck and the structure isn't sound. And then it sets it off and then they get pain, inflammation, and they're doing these robot turns and they're very uncomfortable because it's gradual and because it's that load coming forward. Even though the head is 10% of the body weight, it's not like a heavy aggressive load that's changing things quickly to cause pain. It's that slow creep that's really dangerous. It's going to gradually change the shape of people's necks. I'm also doing 4-point to 2-point stability work, which I find really effective. And then I'm also doing 4-point to 3-point, holding the rings, so get that cross bracing going. I've modified the way in which I do crunches and cobras and everything that I'm doing in a gym. I'm making it so that it's pro-cervical extension. So it's correcting that and strengthening that. I'm avoiding cervical flexion. I still do it in my day-to-day stuff, but I'm not going to condition my neck in that way until I've conditioned it with a lordosis. So it is a very challenging, conscious thing to do. So I have my lock screen on my phone as the X-ray, so that way I'm reminded every time I pick my phone up, I see that X-ray. That's what I've got to be doing. And I've just got my towel roll with me everywhere, driving. I put a towel roll in there and just continuously doing it throughout the day. I'm using infrared lamps on my neck through the day as well to help heal that area and strengthen it and just improve circulation, so that way it's getting nourishment into the area as it's making changes. And I'm just conscious to keep my head tall all the time. I always have been because of my neck condition, but now it's like really important for me to do it. If you do have neck pain and you use your phone a lot, a simple fix for everybody is just hold your phone in front of your face. Doesn't matter if people think that you're filming them. It's so important not to have that prolonged neck posture with your head forward looking down at that thing. It'll destroy your neck, and coming from someone who is looking at surgery as an option to get themselves out of pain, I don't want anybody to go through this. And if people can avoid this, see this video and go, okay, This doesn't have to happen. And if you're at the beginning phases where you've just changed the shape but you've got no major damage to your neck, then this protocol that I'm using may be good for you. But you always want to check with a physio, a chiro, an osteo, and get that work done. But if you do have a cervical kyphosis and you are flexed, this may be the method for you, but I'm going to test it. I'm going to show before and after and document it, because I think it's really important going forward for people using phones to learn this stuff and understand it, so that one, they hold their phone up, or if they get to the point they've already done the damage, there's something that they can do. So I hope you enjoy the content, and let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you soon.